What's going on, guys, and welcome inside another episode of the Fuel Your Vision podcast with your host, Alex Lombard. And today's guest is a three-time international best-selling author, a top 100 business coach, the executive producer of the #1 entrepreneur's business show, Elevator Pitch, runs a massive podcast called The Playbook, where he's interviewed a wide variety of very, very credible guests, such as Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Hawk, and Dana White. He's the co-founder of the global agency Sports One Marketing and has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Bloomberg, and ESPN, just to name a few, as well as being a sought-after speaker and consultant working with Fortune 100 companies. And what I love most about today's guest is his incredible mission to go out there and empower 1 billion people to make them happy, providing as much value as possible. Welcome to the show, Mr. David Meltzer. How you doing today, man?
Amazing. Can I take you on the road with me with those introductions? That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man. You deserve it. It was, it honestly was actually kind of hard writing that because I was looking, I mean, I've been following you for a while, but I was looking up, just everything you do. And it's inspiring. It's awesome. I'm just so stoked to get this out and your story out because so many people are going to look at this and they're just gonna be like, wow, like that's what's possible, And so I just appreciate you for getting on here. And yeah, thanks again. This is exciting. So what I would love to do, man, is what I do with every guest is just kind of have you take us back in time and, bring us along the journey of where you got to where you're at today. I'd love to just hear your story, however you want to share that and, in any way possible.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a story of possibility to probability to perspective. And that possibility started with a mom who shared a light, a love, and lessons with me that anything was possible. And for me, that possibility always revolved around several things that I still deal with today. The number one thing was money. I wasn't aware of the fact that I was born into a genetic disposition to automatically be positive and happy. Now that I reflect, having grandparents, I had both my grandfathers, I named Papa. One I named literally, he was the Poptimist because he would tell me that I was the Toptimist. And he was more positive than me, so I called him the Poptimist. And so that was a great superpower, though, to be so positive and to just naturally born into a perspective of gratitude. Although it was practiced as well in my home, my mom, because my dad left when I was 5, we didn't have much money. My mom worked 2 jobs, packed our dinner in a paper bag, all the typical story, but we were super happy. And my mom, if I would come downstairs not happy, she'd send me back up until I changed my mindset. Which is probably one of the most valuable things my mom did for me, besides waking me up at 5 a.m. and guilt me to death to be my best. Those are several different good parenting tips as well. But money was misunderstood by me because I thought, because the only time I wasn't happy was when I'd see my mom stressed, who I adored so much, about money. Car breaks down all the time, or you can't afford food for 6 kids, or, a variety of things happened in my childhood where I catch my mom crying or stressed over money. And in my mind, it was, I'm going to make a ton of money to buy my mom a house and a car, and then everything's going to be happy, right? And, through a variety of different stories of, developing skills, other superpowers, and learning from those skills. First, it was to be an athlete, but the skills that I really learned to be a professional football player was the skill of consistency. So I learned a skill of consistency, which still today, I try to train and motivate and inspire people to be consistent. And the reason is that most people don't, Alex, understand incremental growth or segmentation. And the reason they don't understand it is that we were all born with these faulty equipment. And the faulty equipment are our senses and our memory. And we rely on our senses and our memory, and it just screws us up. Because we are sure of it, because our sensories and our memory tells us something, we have a need to be right. And the minute you have a need to be right, you're an ego-based consciousness, you actually create void, shortages, and obstacles for yourself. And so to come to the acknowledgement that our senses are faulty is huge, because the number one thing that I see beyond the ego-based consciousness from these senses is that we resist consistency because we feel stuck. Because our senses tell us, when we do the same thing again and again, that we're stuck. But what if you could really see utilizing different senses and understanding variables like time and potential and existence in order to create a different perspective of being stuck. I think a lot of people didn't understand me on my journey to empower 1,000, to empower 1,000, to empower 1,000, 1,000 times 1,000, a million times 1,000 is a billion. I want to empower over a billion. I don't want to limit myself, over a billion people to be happy. And the hardest part is that I tell them, get stuck getting stuck. And they're like, what the F does that? It rhymes with stuck. What the F does that mean? And what it means is this, and I've been practicing this with Justin, my producer. I said, go ahead, Justin, take a millimeter, a small measurement, and let me line up 20 sticks, and one of them is a millimeter longer. What is truly your chances of knowing, right? You have your senses are so accurate. Then tell me which one's longer, right? Tell me what percentage of the time you think you could do that. Yeah. And so 0, I mean, literally you have to be lucky, right? 1 out of 20. Anyway. But that's the way life is about consistency and getting stuck, because I was very consistent and I appreciated the consistency, meaning this: go ahead and double 1 millimeter, go double it and count the segments until it gets to a number that you want, right? A length of improvement that you want. Yeah. It might be 10, right? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, right? And 2,000 millimeters is where you want to be. Or maybe at 15 segments, which is 64,000 millimeters. Or maybe it's at 20 segments, which is 2 million millimeters. There's going to be a point where you're like, yeah, that's where I want to be. You're not going to get there without detaching your emotions from your senses, from the ability to see. Now, here's what's interesting. Not only does consistency get you there and get you well there, because consistency allows exponential growth, right? It doubles, but it also affects time. So let me talk about you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Yeah. So Gary, I was a consultant, still am. I helped them with their sports agency, right? I ran Lee Steinberg, the sports agency, Jerry Maguire, Warren Moon's my partner. I know a ton about that business. Yeah. They're starting in it. And because they ignored me about getting in the business, I told them I'd help them since they want to get into business. But Gary asked me when I first said to him, hey, I'll trade you services, right? You're really good at what you do. You're the best in the world. I appreciate you respect my capabilities. Can you help me build a brand of this middle-aged mutant turtle, right? Nobody knows who I am. And I have all these lessons I want to teach people. And I have this huge mission. He goes, what's your mission? Power a billion people to be happy. How are you going to do that? 1,000 people. He goes, so what do you want to do? I go, I want to do videos like you, but I want to do it with just trying to get 2 people in my first year. He goes, 2 people? I said, yeah, I want 2 ambassadors, 2 people that can get 2 people to get 2 people. And that's all what I want for year 1. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He goes, oh yeah, I can work with this. I said, I'm not interested in followers. I go, I don't care if 10 million TikTok people or, whatever, that doesn't mean anything to me. What means a lot to me is, can I get 2 in year 1? And then I said, by year 20, when I'm 70 years old, I'll have 2 million ambassadors getting me 2 million ambassadors, getting me 2 million ambassadors. I'm way ahead of schedule. But what I learned about consistency through this math is not only do the segments exponentially grow, but if you practice them, you get better at them because you're paying attention to and giving intention into the coincidences that you want. So it actually speeds it up. So what's happening is not only is it 2 people in year 1 getting 2, but then it's 11 months till you got 4 getting 4, and then it's only 10 months till you get 8 getting 8, and then it's only 9 months, 16, and so on. Pretty soon, you're doubling thousands of people in moments of time. And because of social media, because of the ubiquity of technology, we're able to access up to 4.2 billion people. Yeah. And so once again, consistency combined with the idea that my mom taught me, whatever you can think is possible is probable if you're inspired to do so. If you're inspired, you can manifest or prove that to people by being consistent. If you're consistent, you're not going to quit, right? Why won't you quit? Because here's what people do. When they don't see the growth, right? They don't see the growth. So when they get to 25% of the way there, they still can't see the growth. And so what do? They quit. Mm-hmm. And then the 1% that hangs on, in half as much time, they get to 50% of the way there. What do? they quit. Then it's that 1% of the 1% that must be what they can be, that stays consistent and persistent in the pursuit of their potential and learns to enjoy it, to find the light, love, and lessons in doing so, that get there. The 1% of the 1% are the ones that get there, that live inspired life, that know that they're always connected to the most powerful lessons, light, and love that exists, and they're able to allow it to go through them and appreciate it, add value to it, and give it away. And so my journey from wanting to be a football player to wanting to be a doctor and finding out doctors how to be in hospitals. And I learned a valuable lesson to be more interested than interesting, which is so important today. I'm always more interested than interesting. I'm looking for more. I'm looking for mentorship. I'm looking for lessons. I'm looking for light in everything that I do, to eventually go into law school to be rich, reverse engineering law school for an oil and gas litigator, because that's the highest paid job you could get out of law school. End up, because I understand options. And when I say that is, if you focus in on your skills, and I impress upon everybody today, we have a little bit younger audience, you've never seen a bad employment situation. The last 13 years, we've had employment growth. Right before this happened, realized that we went from the best statistical employment ratio ever in history to the second worst next to the Depression in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So all the kids out there that always had the confidence, I'll just get something else because I have a pulse, things are about to get wicked for you. You're about to learn some light lessons. So if you're not developing your skills consistently, acquiring knowledge and asking for help and being of service and asking for value and all these things that you should be doing, and learning about practicing ending fear and being inspired, you're going to have greater challenges and lessons ahead for you. You'll know those lessons because they result in pain. So if you or your friends or family, if there's financial pain, if there's social or inspirational or emotional or physical pain, just remember the universe is just telling you, hey, brother, you got a lesson to learn. And you better learn that thing. And the best way to learn it is to ask someone that's paid the dummy tax. And I've paid the dummy tax. These aren't things, I am the biggest hypocrite in the world. I learned these lessons because I was the idiot that didn't understand this. And so when I got out of law school, I didn't listen to my mom. I voted for what I wanted for the first time in my life, which is another valuable lesson. I take advice with appreciation, but I only vote for what I want from the advice that I get. I look for people that sit in the situation that I want to be in. I find those mentors. I beg, borrow, and steal to get their mentorship and help. People who already sit in the situation I want. You want to make millions of dollars? Go find an expert in the space that you want to go and be involved with. Someone that's 30 or 40 years experience, and just ask them a simple question. Let me know when this is oversold so I can buy it, or find somebody to buy it, or broker the deal, or agent the deal, or channel partner in the deal to buy it. That's the easiest way to make money. I'm looking for anyone over 90 years old, by the way, Alex. So if you have a great grandma or any of their friends that are over 90, because I'm doing a whole series and asking one question: what's the secret to life?
Oh, that's cool.
Right? Over 90 years old. I'm searching out there, all my interviews, I'm asking, just have them call, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Yeah. Any of your bubbies and your grandmas and your mamas, get them to Dave. Get them to Dave. I'm just one quick interview. I just want to know the secret of life. Okay.
I love that.
That's what life's about, acquiring the knowledge. And I'm smart enough, I'm paying the dummy tax, that I don't want to pay the dummy tax till I'm 90. I'm just going to go ask a bunch of 90 and older people, hey, what's the secret to life? Because I don't want to go and have all this pain in my life to learn the secrets. I'm just going to listen to all the 90-year-olds. And I take the same perspective all the way through my career. But 9 months out of law school, I took a job, instead of being an oil and gas litigator, I took a job selling legal research online in 1992 when nobody even knew what the internet was. In fact, my mom actually told me the internet was a fad and that I was a moron for taking the job, that I should be a fad. She literally was convinced the internet was dead. I still joke around with her. Thank goodness, when people love you, doesn't mean they give you good advice. Right. And I don't vote for what my mom wants for me, except for parenting advice. Anytime my mom gives me parenting advice, that's like asking Warren Buffett for financial advice. She has 6 kids, 5 of them Ivy League, summa cum laude. Wow. Excuse my language, but they are parents' wet dreams, my siblings. It makes it really difficult for me. I'm like the low end of the gene pool. I got chip on I'm Tom Brady of family, right? I was drafted in like the 4th round in my family. Yeah. So I am the Tom Brady. People are, why are you so successful then? I'm Tom Brady. I basically went up to my mom and said, you've made the worst mistake of your life calling me a moron. Anyway, so what I learned though, through that journey, besides the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, through my journey, I also had a relationship with money. And I still believe money bought love. And it was reinforced by my success, millionaire 9 months out of law school, went into the Silicon Valley, learned those skill sets. My superpower is not only being able to make money, but raise money for philanthropy and businesses. And I ended up at 30 as the CEO of Samsung's first smartphone. Once again, developing skills, knowledge, and inspiration that allowed me to have many opportunities. I had John Scully on my playbook, and he's incredible, right? He was CEO of Pepsi, then he's CEO of Apple, then he's now CEO of RX Advisory. Like, why? How can he do that? Those are completely different things. That's the way I've lived my life. He's an option and opportunity guy. He's only developed his skills to come through him for other people and provide value. I call it 120 value. John Scully's exact example of someone who gives $100 value, only asks 20 back. And that's why he'll always be successful. He's 81 years old, looks like he's 61, and he still is more productive, accessible, and gracious than anybody that is half or a quarter of his age. One of those guys that I ask, what's the secret to life? He's a little bit young for the total journey, but 81's okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then, from there, I became the CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, most notable sports agency, and then evolved into a marketing and media company with Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon. Yeah. Money, though, shifted for me. And I hate to monopolize your whole questions. If you want me to go through this run, I can stop here if you want to ask a question. I can keep going.
Keep rocking, man. No, gems. Right, cool. I love it.
All right. So here's the interesting time in my life with all these relationships. I still was enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, but I could not build a relationship with money. I had all these different things of insecurity. I was living in ego-based consciousness. I was, wanting the approval of people I didn't even like and trying to buy things I didn't even want. And I was surrounding myself with bad ideas and bad people. And 3 things changed my life. And, if you got a pencil or an iPad or a computer, check out these 3 things. Number 1, when I was 30 years old, I got a birthday present from my dad. And now that may not sound significant to most people, but my dad left when I was 5. He was my superhero. My dad was good looking, rich, charismatic. Obviously, the other kids in the family got his genetics. But more importantly, my dad was my superhero. He married a girl half his age, drove a convertible Cadillac around, really wealthy. I used to ask my mom as we were broke, why can't you be more like dad? I didn't understand deadbeat dads or the 70s or, none of that. So I have an enormous amount of guilt I'm still processing for how evil I was or ignorant. But when I was 10 years old, my dad made a mistake. He forgot my birthday. He had all those kids. He was into his own life. He forgot my birthday. But instead of saying he was sorry or making it up to me, he lied to me and said, I didn't forget your birthday. I don't believe in birthdays. And why that was so crucial at 10 is that I realized my dad was exactly what he was. He was a liar, right? He was a cheater, a manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. And I hated him. I went from superhero to super zero, and I hated my father. So at 30, when I get a birthday present from him, I open it up. It's a beautiful sport coat. I put it on, and I start to cry. And my wife's like, why are you crying? I said, my dad finally gets it. Oh my gosh, he must have called to get my size. He's so considerate. This is an apology. This is amazing. And I open it up to see, if there's a special brand or message and when I opened up the jacket, he had torn out all the pockets. I immediately went from, this forgiving, loving reconciliation to complete hatred again. So I call my dad up in immediate anger and I tell him, what the F? He's like, what? I go, I got your present. What are you trying to punish me? What are you talking about? I can't wear the jacket. Why would you buy me a jacket that I can't wear? He said, it's for wearing at your funeral. I'm like, you're sick. Like literally, what do you mean it's for wearing my funeral? I want you to hang it in your closet. I never want you to wear it until your funeral. Why? I want you to remind you every day looking at that you're just like me. Now that I lost it. Like you? Yeah, you're just like me. Money's your God. I'm just like you. You're a liar, cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. I'm nothing like you, man. I have a beautiful family. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I have everything I ever dreamed of. I'm nothing like you. F you. Boom. 6 years later, I'm running Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment, representing the most notable people and around the unbelievable events like the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, all the award shows, everything. My best friend, who actually asked my wife to go study in the 6th grade for me at 6th grade camp. And she said, no, tell him to ask me himself. I threw an egg at my wife at the time, which gave me a 20-year journey to try to get her to marry me. She hated me. Which also reinforced, I thought, she started liking me because I made money. So once again, reinforcing money makes love and happiness. But I went golfing and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I asked my friend Robbie, I said, Rob, how come you don't hang out with me? We could go to the Super Bowl together, man. We could hang out with the who's who in the world. Why aren't you hanging out with me? He said, because I don't like who you hang out with. And I looked at him like, well, come on, man. I'm not like those guys. He looked at me and said, Dave, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. I had to hold in the tears for the rest of the round. I kept looking at him. I was so hurt because it was so true. And he was the only one always telling me the truth. Since the 4th grade, I've been his best friend, and he wasn't afraid always to bust my chops. And I was crying in the car on the way home. 2 weeks later, my life changed completely. 2006, I came home from the Grammy Awards. I was with a guy named Little John, 2006. Most people know who he is now.
Yeah.
He had won a Grammy Award. He's a rapper. And we went to the Grammy Awards. I lied to my wife. I changed clothes in the car, told her I had an important meeting, but I didn't get home till 5:30 in the morning, intoxicated and high. And when I walked in the door for the very first time, anyone other than my best friend, Robbie, she told me the truth. She told me she wasn't happy. She told me that I better take stock in who I was or what I wanted to become. And that if I did not do that, she was going to leave me. It rocked me because I immediately got pissed. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How ungrateful of you. Look around you, cars, boats, houses, motorhomes. I have a golf course and a ski mountain. You've never had anything that I didn't give you. You've never worked. We have a nanny in the other room. I got 3 beautiful daughters. What are you talking about? F you, my go-to. I went to bed, woke up in the morning, no enlightenment. All I could think about is I was literally going to take everything, all the money, how I'm going to take my kids. I was so angry. So angry thinking about what law school buddy of mine was the most conniving lawyer that I could hire, and then my life changed. Just like a book that you haven't, that's been on your shelf for 20 years, that just calls you out, Think and Grow Rich, Course in Miracles, Surrender. I don't know what your books are, man, but they read, they call you. After 20 years, there it was. I looked over and there's that jacket from 6 years ago, right? It's staring at me and it's looking, I look at it and I still get choked up because it was so emotional. I still get choked up. I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm just like my dad. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I'm a back-end selling, manipulating. I'm everything I hate. And my dad was right. I don't want to be the richest man in the cemetery. I can't take anything with when I'm gone. Money's not going to buy me love. And I started outlining all types of principles and key elements. And I came up with 4 values that I started living with in 2006. It was 14 years ago. Gratitude. I lived with gratitude. I was born with gratitude. It gives me a perspective that my past is amazing, my present is better, and my future is brighter. It gives me what faith I have is based off of gratitude. 2, forgiveness. I'd lost all forgiveness in my life. I couldn't even forgive myself, and I can't give what I don't have. So I learned to forgive. 3, accountability. I was living below the line in blame, shame, and justification. All I had to do is ask myself 2 questions. What did I do to attract this to my life? And what am I supposed to learn from it? Life is about lessons. Lessons are going to keep on coming till we learn them. They result in pain if you haven't learned them. Physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial pain. If you have that in your life, it's just a matter of learning the lessons. Go seek help with someone that's already learned the lesson. A teacher is a lot easier to learn the lesson than life. Find a teacher that's already knows the lesson. And then finally, understanding inspiration. That I had forgotten because I was a great motivator, that I also lived my life inspired. That I was always connected to the greatest source of energy, light, lessons, and love. And that it was my job to clear the clouds of pain in order to effectuate all of that power into me, but also that I could appreciate that power. I could add value to that power. and then distribute it to everything that I was connected to, every person, place, or thing. I was the chief betterment officer of my life. I was that person. Whether you're in the closet right now, like I am doing this podcast in COVID quarantine closed down, or whether you're in some safe harbored place, you are in this flow. And I forgot all those things. 2 years later, as I started practicing gratitude, practicing forgiveness, practicing accountability, and practicing inspiration, and still do today, 14 years later. But 2 years after, I lost everything. 2008, I lost over $100 million in paper assets all over the place, and I was prepared. Not as prepared as I am today, not as prepared am I today to know the 5 things that I learned through those 4 values. And I'd be happy to share those 5 things if we have time, Alex.
Yeah.
Real
Absolutely.
simple.
Yeah.
Number 1, get your pens. Take inventory of your values. There you go. Take inventories of your values. Personal, experiential, giving, and receiving. We are in a compressed time of uncertainty. There's accelerated change. People who make the best decisions make those decisions based on voting for themselves. If you're not taking inventory of your values every day without the fear of being a hypocrite. I talked to my uncle he's 84 years old yesterday, and I said, what's really frustrating is people are so afraid to be a hypocrite. Right now, they're so afraid to be a hypocrite.
So true.
They're stuck to what their values were yesterday. Let me just tell you this. Nobody out there should listen to me if my values were the same as when I was 20. I would be worthless to you unless I would tell you, take my values and reverse them, and then you'd be okay. I'm not afraid of being a hypocrite every day. I could tell you today, hey, I'm thinking about selling my office building because I believe that we haven't seen but the first quarter of this economic downturn, and that I am going to literally sell my office building and buy back either my building or one twice as big for a lot less.
Yeah.
I believe that. And I'm willing to take, because it's something I believe in. But I'm willing also to tell you that if my values change tomorrow, because things change so quickly right now, that I could do this podcast tomorrow and say, I'm never selling my business.
Yeah.
Right? I'm never selling my business.
Right.
Because I might find out, oh my God, there's such a shortage of renters that I can double the rent and just move out and let people rent it. Right? These change. Yeah. And my values can change with them. So don't be afraid to be a hypocrite. Know your personal, experiential, giving, and receiving values every day. 2, ask 2 series of questions. 1, how you can provide value or service. Always think of the 120 exchange. Can I provide $100 of value and only ask for $20 back? And 2, a series of questions, not from gatekeepers, people who stand in your way, resistance, overcoming obstacles, voids, and shortages. Gatekeepers don't exist in my life. Only sponsors and power sponsors. A sponsor is someone that knows someone that can help me, and a power sponsor is someone that can actually help me themselves and find someone to help me. That's my perspective. Biggest change in my life, radically humble. I ask sponsors and power sponsors every day. Everyone on here, come to my free training on Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 Eastern time. Please share your list, Alex. Let everyone know. Come to my free training. I don't sell anything. I'm not afraid to ask. Do you know anyone that wants to go? If you want to go, fine. If you know someone, invite them. I ask every time. Ask and attract. 3, my favorite pragmatic advice. Student of your calendar. I shared with you what a student is, someone that's more interested than interesting, someone who pays attention to and gives intention to the coincidences that they want. It's the definition of being lucky. So you need to study your calendar at least once a day, if not in the morning and at night. Study what you have planned with attention and intention for the coincidences, with the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. But study what you don't have planned. Study the white space, the empty space in your calendar. Study it all, and then study sleep. Study the 8 hours that we share every night, the biggest habit that we all have. Study sleep. 3 easy ways to change your life. Say thank you, drink a gallon of water, and sleep 8 hours. These are all basics. 4, do it now. So beyond being a student of your calendar, do it now. 100% of the things that you do now get done. People who get stuff done are far more successful than people that don't. If you can't get it done right now, put it in your calendar and prioritize by what's most important first, and then down to what's urgent. Make it a habit. Be consistent and persistent in doing it now. Finally, and last but not least, so we finish off, practice ending fear. Practice ending fear. Identify what you're afraid of. When you're in fear-based consciousness, when you're in ego-based consciousness, your mind, body, soul are on fire. Stop when you identify that you're angry, frustrated, you have a need to be right, offended, resentful, inferior, superior, any of these feelings. Just stop, drop down and breathe. Take the 6 breaths of the ferocious Buddha. I'm not a Buddha, I'm a ferocious Buddha. I'm ferocious about going and making room for what I want and helping people and asking and all these things. But I'm also a Buddha when I go in the wrong direction in ego. Now I take the 6 deep breaths through my nose, out through my mouth. In other words, I stop, I drop, and then I roll in the trajectory towards what I had planned or not had planned or sleep in my calendar. I am the ferocious Buddha. So if you take inventory of your values, if you ask and attract, if you're a student of your calendar, if you do it now and you practice ending fear under the context of gratitude, empathy, accountability, and inspiration, I promise you, everything you desire will come to you rapidly and accurately. No matter what the external circumstances are, you will smile through struggle. You will sit in the middle of literally the middle of a miracle. And you too will have this unbelievable positive attitude. And I appreciate the time to speak with everyone. Thanks so much, Alex.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. Thank you. That was great. I got to ask you 2 quick questions, though. I ask every single guest these 2 questions. But real quick, I just want to say, look at the power of simply asking the question of what's your story, because you just went on, and that was amazing, man. Amazing. Thank you for that. 2 quick questions. Number 1, how do you define a visionary?
Great question. So a visionary is someone that knows their what and become inspired by that what, meaning have the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of that what, and then realize that the what, a possibility, becomes a probability, and a visionary is someone that can make that probability their perspective. A visionary takes nothing, turns it into a possibility of what, an inspired possibility, which becomes a probability, and a visionary can take strategy, awareness, and discipline and make it their perspective or their reality.
Love it, man. I love it. All right, second question for you. How does someone, in your opinion, discover their purpose on earth?
They'll never discover their purpose. What I suggest people do is to create a habit of learning to love everything, learning to find the light, love, and lessons in everything. Look, I have surrounded myself with the greatest athletes, celebrities, entertainers, successful executives in the world. Check out the playbook. You will see the people I surround myself with. And I'll tell you about every single one of them, whoever you want, from Deepak Chopra to Danica Patrick, Annika, whoever I've had on there. Every one of them does not love what they do. They all love a portion of what they do, and they've learned to love the rest. They've learned to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of their potential by learning to love the rest of it. So if we can find the light, love, and lessons in everything that we do, then you will live a purposeful existence in search of your purpose.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much. David, where can people find you that are listening to this and want to connect more with you? What's the best place?
Well, David Meltzer is my name, D-A-V-I-D, Meltzer. So it's at David Meltzer, dmeltzer.com. Also, text me. I do free trainings every Friday. Please register 949-298-2905. This week is 5 to Thrive. 5 simple steps in order to thrive in sales, business, and life. Please join me anywhere. I will respond. I am here to be of service and of value. Thank you so much, Alex, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and thank all of you who are listening. Please like and subscribe and drop a comment of your thoughts below. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.